Hi, everyone who's joined. Just give it a minute to some other people join, and then we'll get started in about a minute's time. Okay, it's 2 minutes past 11, so I'll get started. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. So I'm going to be speaking about 5 minutes, going through a presentation prepared about mainly aimed at B2B companies who are in the commerce arena and trying to accelerate their direct-to-consumer plans. So just to introduce myself first, my name is Jonathan Whiteside. There's my email address, and if you want to add me on LinkedIn and look at my profile, you can just scan the QR code on the screen. As I said, my name is Jonathan Whiteside, and I'm Principal Consultant at Dept in the UK. For those of you who aren't familiar with Dept, we're we employ around 1,500 people spread across 22 offices in 13 countries. Mainly concentrated in Europe and in North America. In the UK, we're about 120 people strong, and we provide services in digital content and campaigns, performance marketing, experience design, and technology and engineering. And we work with clients such as Triumph Motorcycles, such as Nivea, such as Formula E. Okay, so really, why are we here today? And it's to talk about the trend of D2C, or direct to consumer. And what I want to go through is 3 different things. Number 1 is, what do I mean by direct to consumer? Secondly is, why direct to consumer is important, particularly why is it important now? And then third, and really the bulk of the presentation, is about how and the different options that you have available as a B2B manufacturer, B2B brands, go direct to your consumer. We do have a range of different people on the presentation today. Some of them D2C will be very new things, and some will be a little bit more advanced in their D2C plans. So I am going to start with the basics, but I promise you it will build up throughout the presentation with a little bit more some of that. Going how, I'm really going to dive into 3 different areas: platforms, marketplaces, and then B2B wholesale. So hopefully you find something useful in the presentation at some point today. So first of all, let's start really from the basics. What is D2C? And D2C is going direct to consumer. It's a strategy for manufacturers and consumer packaged good brands to sell directly to their end customer, rather than sell through traditional reseller or retailer channels. In its form. There's a few reasons why you would want to do this. 3 ones that spring out of the big ones. One is control the brand experience. So the full experience that a customer has with your organization, with your brand, can be controlled online, which it can't be done if you're selling through a retailer. Number 2 is to gather insights. So for various reasons we'll explain later, traditionally in B2B, it's sometimes hard to get the full data on acquisition through to sale and post-service. So D2C is a good way for a company to be able to get full insight from data on the e-commerce channel on consumer trends, behaviours, and also direct feedback. And third, and often seems most important, about margins. Moving a layer of complexity can reduce distribution costs. Now, I've been quite careful with the last point, not to be seen, as it sometimes is, about cutting out the middleman. And that's a little bit short-sighted, I think, because often your retailers and your resellers provide a lot of added value in that customer journey, in the journey for them to buy your brand or your products. Especially with more complex sales, where either their experience, knowledge of the market, or just the fact that they sell your competitors as well as you, it makes it more dependent when they sell your product to your customers. And often a reseller might have some ancillary services which are really important to your customer, which you don't offer because you just offer the product. So margins is a key thing, but it isn't just about cutting out the middleman, although there is a place for that as well. Move on to the next one. So when I'm saying this, it doesn't just have to be setting up competition with your resellers, your retail channel. It doesn't have to be about capitalizing your existing sales channels. We really want to think about direct to consumer, about creating a bigger market, creating more awareness for your brand, awareness for your products, that then help support greater sales in other channels. Now, this isn't a new thing. This is just an example I thought of at the weekend, purely because I was buying some paint to paint my house. And I had the option, and I was thinking, okay, I kind of know what paint I want, but I could go directly to a store, to the Farrow & Ball store, the brand store itself, or I could go to a retailer such as B&Q, which stocks the same product. It's exactly the same paint at the end of it, but just a different environment. So what I'm saying here is we're viewing this through the eyes of e-commerce, but it's not a new concept at all. Okay, so that's what it is. Why? Why is it important? Why is it such an important thing at the moment, and it's getting so much noise in the market? The first thing is we're at a point in time now, and perhaps we have been for the past couple of years, where there's a extremely low barrier to entry when doing e-commerce. Let's say 10 years ago, there was still an amount of investment that needed to be made, which is necessarily there now, but needs to be made. Number two is because there is a low barrier entry, we have competition from disruptors. And three, necessity, and I'll come on to that in a couple of slides' time. So just going back to low barrier of entry, as I said, it was often capital intensive to set up e-commerce infrastructure in the past. It required large investments, not just in operations, but in technology, buying technology products or implementing technology products, then splitting them. We're now at a point now where there's a number of platforms that we can build on. So instead of having to build and invest and buy the infrastructure, you can rent it as pay as you grow. And that's very, very attractive for when you want to start out experimenting and seeing if something's going to work. Only pay a small amount, knowing that the cost will increase as your revenue increases. Pure pay as you grow model. And we can see that from the next slide, which is competition from disruptors. Because there is a low barrier to entry, there's a lot of what's termed as disruptors in the market. What I mean disruptors are online only or online first brands. So you can see in the different areas like apparel or baby care or hobbies or home appliances, there are brands that only operate in e-commerce. They sell other people's products or they sell their own products, but they just operate in e-commerce, which perhaps 10 years ago would have been very, very difficult for them to be able to do. Often, though, they are selling the same product. It's the same product that they're selling. Often, it's the same marketing tactics, the same marketing playbook that they're using. But what the disruptors are doing is finding different delivery mechanisms to be able to get the product to you or to sell the product. And that really goes back to consumer trends. What do I say consumers value, but it's more what do people value at the moment? And they value, I think, four things. They value convenience, they value speed, they value low commitment sometimes. So just like we were talking about not having to make a large capital investment in e-commerce infrastructure, we can pay as you grow. A lot of consumers want to move to a more subscription model, but they're not being a huge commitment up front. The fourth thing is they want it to be personal. They want to make sure that whatever they buy is fit for purpose and it's right for them and it works for their lifestyle. And that's what the disruptors are really going after, these consumer trends or these consumer points which people are looking for now, and often not evident in a lot of traditional retail sales. Third point is necessity, and no presentation at the moment is complete without talking about COVID-19. And COVID-19 has put in place some an environment where D2C is even more important or really at the top of people's agendas. And we can see that in numbers, although the graph is cutting off a little bit there. We can see that e-commerce has been increasing. It spiked, what you can see on the right-hand side, it spiked in April. So it went from hovering around the 20% mark, it has done for the past 12 months, to spike in April up to 30%. But this graph can't be seen just be seen by itself. It's more about actually where those sales are coming from, and those sales are replacing retail sales. So these two graphs are the top line showing physical sales and the bottom one showing e-commerce. So as e-commerce is increasing, obviously physical is decreasing. Now it's obvious, the stores, shops haven't opened. But this could be a trend that continues where physical store sales are going to continue to trend down. So we need to be where our customers are, and our customers are clearly online. So the why now, I think, comes down to these key areas. Number one, COVID is accelerating existing trends. D2C has been a buzzword, something that people have been looking into for at least the past 18 months. It's been kind of top of agendas for a number of companies that we speak to, a number of our clients. But it's always been a thing that they want to look at, but not really fully commit to yet. And obviously that trend has accelerated because the need is, okay, I can't sell on my retailers now, my resellers. I need to do this and go direct to the consumer and own that relationship myself now. Number two is it's forced experimentation. So while people might have been a little bit more conservative about things in the past, say, well, okay, we need to, start a proper pilot or put a really detailed plan together about how we go about this. Often now clients are turning around saying, just do it. Let's just have a go because anything is better than nothing. And that can turn to resetting some habits. Habits which have been in place for many, many years can be reset within the space of a few months. But two good examples of this. Number one is I have a client, been working with them for about 5 years as Dept, and they sell their manufacturing company and they sell their products entirely through a reseller channel. They don't sell direct at all and never have done. And we've been talking for the past 5 years since the first meeting about adding something simple like live chats to their website so they can talk direct to their customers. And there's always been pushback. The pushback was always, okay, we actually don't own the relationship with our customers. It's the retail channel that do that. First day after lockdown and COVID, we had a call to discuss, okay, how's the business doing? Is there anything we can do? And called, okay, let's put live chat on the website. So 5 years discussion, a decision was made within 10 minutes. That live chat was on the website within 3 days, and it was taking inquiries. Based on the inquiries that we've been getting, we have seen there is demand from the customers themselves to be able to interact with the brand directly. And so that has now accelerated the existing plan, which was a 2-3 year plan to go direct to consumer. And we're now looking about a very condensed plan to do it in 6 months. And then another example is PepsiCo. PepsiCo have always sold through retailers, their products. PepsiCo selling things like crisps, they do Wool crisps, they sell things like Quaker Oats. They've always sold through their retail. They've never done direct to consumer. And in May, very quickly, they launched 2 direct to consumer offerings, both for their snacks and also the more pantry items, things like Quaker Oats, things like pancake mix. So again, probably in their plans, and probably been talked about for a number of years, but I don't think it's going to happen mid-May during the current crisis. It really shows the necessity to get stuff done now. Okay, so we've now covered what, we've now covered why. The last one is to cover, and hopefully the book presentation, is how and what options have we got. Once we've decided, yeah, okay, we need to do this, how do we move quickly in the D2C model? Now, this is a slide which I really like, but can be really scary as well. It's a slide showing, probably not all, but a number of the main consideration points we need to think about if we, as a B2B company, want to start, sell, continue to sell through our existing sales channels, but also we want to go direct to the consumer. And the IAB have put together, it's a really nice slide which shows the 4 main areas: the production stack, all the different systems, different processes that we need from a production side of things; fulfillment, so actually how we're going to sell and how we're going to fulfill the orders once a customer does buy online from us; data, so how do we get information, analytics and insight back, and reporting to say, is it actually working? Are we getting the return that we want? And then the 4th one is the attention stack. All the different marketing methods, communication tools, communication channels that we need to have as a modern marketer to get the attention of our consumers, to drive them to our D2C offering. Now, for most B2B companies, the more production stack probably doesn't have too much of an issue. We already have warehouses, we already have business operations, we have packaging, we have logistics in place. So that one isn't too much of a concern. The attention stack one as well, again, we might not be doing some of the things, but it's well known how to market. We've already got marketing teams. We are communicating and putting our brand out there on social media. We're already doing some form of SEO with our own more B2B website at the moment. But it kind of, we know what it is. It's a known quantity. It's the other side, it's the right-hand side, which is more of a concern because it could contain a number of unknowns which we're just not familiar with anymore, or familiar yet, sorry. We've got the fulfillment stack. So that is the e-commerce operation. So how do we actually take orders? How do we get our stock online? How do we show the inventory? How do we fulfill the orders? How do we take payment? How do we detail returns and returns processing? And how do we build customer care on a consumer way? We might already have some of these things in place for B2B, but communicating with end consumers can be a very, very different, it's a different tack and a different way that we need to deal with things. Then we have a data stack. And that's really trying to get all the information from our e-commerce channels back so we can make intelligent decisions and drive our D2C offering in the right way. Now, luckily, there's a number of ways to handle the right-hand side. This is what I want to go through is the three areas. Number one is platforms. We could handle that by buying, renting a platform and building up our own experience. Number two is we could build on top of existing marketplaces and take some of the benefits of using existing marketplaces like Amazon. And number three is we could say, actually, we're not quite ready for D2C yet. What we want to do is make the B2B wholesale journey for our B2B resellers more smooth and give them tools to be able to sell more effectively. So those are the three things we're going to go through. Platform. So, as I said, there's a lot of platforms now, or e-commerce platforms, which are what I would class as pay-as-you-grow. What I mean by pay-as-you-grow is they're SaaS-based, as in you don't have to host it yourself, you don't need server infrastructure, you don't really need to put this through a TT. You don't want. These are platforms which you can self-serve with. You can go online, sign up within a browser, being able to get access to them. And you can take all the capabilities that you need to be able to have a modern e-commerce offering. In addition to being the common engine behind the scenes, they often come with a reference implementation, which is an example website, e-commerce website with homepage, product listing pages, product detail pages, baskets and checkout processes already built. It doesn't look like your brand. It's probably not fit for purpose in terms of the experience that you want to give to your customers, but it's a fully functioning e-commerce site which you could go live with if you wanted to. The other thing that these bigger platforms have is they have integrations with lots of other backend systems. So they might have a pre-existing integration with the ERP system which you're already using for all your logistics and all your inventory management. They already have integrations with the big payment providers. They already have integrations with marketing tools that you might be using or might want to use. And so it does become very much plug and play with a lot of these. And this is why these platforms are increasing in the number of companies who are starting to use them. That was a nice slide for reference implementation. This is just an example from Salesforce Commerce Cloud. They've got a very functional reference implementation, which you can see how it could, if you add your content, be able to utilize it to sell your products to clients and customers. And as I say, these platforms are really on the increase. So Shopify has come from doing 2-3 billion of sales through the platform in 2014 up to last year doing over 60 billion in sales through the platform, which shows the amount of brands and companies which are using these SaaS offerings and these online pay-as-you-grow platforms to be able to serve their e-commerce channels. So with a platform, we need to think about what we need to consider. So let's say, okay, you find a platform that you like, you do a bit of due diligence, yes, it's fine, and from the commercial model, it works as well in terms of being able to scale up as you scale your business and scale your revenue. What are the things that you really need to consider? Because the vendors will often tell you that it's there, it's ready to go, but there is a little bit of implementation effort, especially if you're coming from a background or an organization which isn't used to selling direct e-commerce direct to consumers. So the first thing to consider before anything else is deciding actually what are you going to sell? And that sounds like a stupid question or a very obvious question, but you're used to selling perhaps pallet loads of products through your resellers. Actually, does it make sense to do the same thing? Do you use your current brand? Your current brand might be very, very well known in its particular industry, its particular vertical, but it's not be very consumer facing. It might not be very inspiring. So you want to create a sub brand, which is a little bit more consumer facing. Do you want to sell all your products or a targeted subset? We have a work at the moment, a big B2B manufacturer again. They sell 90 different product lines, and what they've decided to do is split up product lines into groups of 6 product lines with very targeted offerings and very targeted personas who they're going after. And each one of those set of 6 product lines will have its own brand and be very, very targeted on the use cases for those specific things. They're still going to sell their existing channel, their existing retailers through their B2B brand, the current B2B brand, which is very well known, it's very well trusted, but they're going to be these targeted subset consumer-facing brands, very small, very nimble, to try and get more sales. In some cases, it might be you're just going to sell a special edition of something that you wouldn't sell through, particularly through a reseller, something that's unique, that you don't want to go for the traditional retail channel for. Therefore, you're not really alienating the existing retailers. It's a product they don't sell anyway. You think about bundling your products in a new way. You think about adding some value above what the retailers do, or adding some unique features to your products that the retailers can't provide. A classic one will be something like Nike ID, where you get your trainers personalized. The retailers can't do that, but as a manufacturer, Nike can personalize the trainers at the point of production to send directly to their consumers. So again, a good example of this, one of our clients is Triumph Motorcycles. They're not selling motorcycles online. But they do sell within the retailers, within their dealerships at the moment, a range of clothing, leather jackets, winter gloves, and sort of style clothing as well, hoodies, t-shirts, that sort of thing, which appeals to people who own Triumph motorcycles. And so what they did and what we put live last month was a very dedicated site to do with clothing, an online clothing store. So just taking all the products they had anyway, they're selling through their dealerships and creating a very targeted e-commerce store that takes revenue for their clothing. Also has the benefit of building the brand name. Because they're selling products with the Triumph logo everywhere, and aiming also at a slightly younger demographic than the people who previously buy motorcycles. So that's a very distinct strategy that the Triumph guys have got, enabling to sell a small subset of products direct to, which doesn't cannibalize or is in competition with their existing sales channel. And then we go back to the PepsiCo example again. They've got two different sites, one for snacks, one for what they call pantry. And what's interesting about these is, number one, they're very targeted stores for very targeted reasons. Snacks and pantry, two separate things. The pantry store is bundling. You don't buy the products individually. You buy them as part of a hamper with lots of different products from a product range together. So everyday pantry or shine or protein. So it's bundled, you can't buy the individuals. Or for snacks, it's personalized, as in you build your own personalized snack bundle based on the products that they have in their range. So they are using the targeting, selling a subset, personalized product very effectively. Okay, next thing to consider when building a platform is don't over-engineer or add unnecessary complexity. Just because the platform has got bells and whistles and all the features doesn't mean you need to use them from day one. We always say to our clients who can sometimes get a little bit caught, oh, great to use this, or great to use that feature, or that feature, or that feature, is let's just get something out and let's prove it works by taking revenue. Because if we're taking revenue, more people in the organization will be taking notice on us. It could be the case that actually we've already got some sort of product catalog on our website. It's best, it's perhaps not, leading class, but we could just add the last section, which is the commerce, taking the transaction on using a headless commerce tool, using something like commerce tools to just provide a payment gateway and the basket and the checkout process, but using all the features we've already got. And that's probably because you already have tools in your organization to manage products. You might be managing your products within a CMS. That CMS might have some commerce capabilities, might not be best in class, but it's good enough to get started to prove the point. Also, choosing a platform with pre-existing integrations, what you need now and also what you think you're going to need in the future. There's nothing worse than getting something up and running very, very quickly and then everything slowing down because you need to do a load of integration work, read modules which already exist in something else. And the last one is current processes don't need to be your new processes. And this is a mistake we see a lot of clients making where they've got current processes for doing things, they implement a new tool and then they try and force the new tool or the new technology to implement the old processes rather than we adapt our processes to fit the new way of doing things. So don't over-engineer, don't make it overcomplicated. Third, it seems obvious but often forgotten. the e-commerce experience, when you have your own direct-to-consumer e-commerce offering, the e-commerce experience is your brand experience. You can't blame it on someone else or someone else doing a job. So that comes back to the online brand experience. Does the e-commerce channel really reflect your brand? Do you get the culture, the values? Do you get the bigger picture coming across as well as it can do? And then all the different things that people expect from their e-commerce stores: frictional commerce, next day delivery where possible, communication during the delivery, the actual delivery itself, was it smooth, or did parcel go missing? Things like the quality of the packaging, making sure it's not damaged. Then the returns process, making it simple, and customer support. There's a lot about that, but if any of these things fall down, it reflects badly on the brand, and so they do need to be considered very, very strongly during this process. Not a it can't be afterthought, because it can have a negative effect very, very quickly on how your brand is perceived in the market. Whilst talking, I should have really just played this. This is a site that we've done for Bugaboo. Turn the sound down a bit, where we have a very clear brand. And instead of just having a catalog-based, brochure-based website, we really wanted to bring brand online. We actually used one of the platforms that we showed before. In this case, it's Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And we took the existing reference implementation we're building on top of it. So it's very Bugaboo experience with Bugaboo features which we know the consumers are interested in. So if you want to go to Bugaboo, you can see it's really cool. It's not, as you would expect it to be, a normal catalog-based website, but we think it really reflects the Bugaboo brand very, very, very well. Okay. Drive with data, and this can be very, very exciting, especially in a B2B context. A lot of time, B commerce, you acquire a customer, comes to your website, you sell them on the product, and because you sell through a reseller channel, distributor channel, you take them, you convert them into a lead, and then you pass the lead on. And you're passing that lead on to the third party, the reseller, the retailer. There's not always been looped back to say whether that lead actually converted to be a customer. And that's often a big downfall. And it's not often technology, can be a process as well. But we don't know sometimes, as e-commerce, as digital experts working B2B, we can see sale trends, but we don't actually know whether the lead's converted to a sale or not. When we own our own e-com channel, we can connect that loop and see everything. In that case, it's very, very important that we measure absolutely everything. Everything our customers do, all their behaviors, we try and gain as much insight from any sort of interaction our customers have with our brand, and can attribute everything back, every sale back to the behaviors that they successfully exhibited on our site. We'd want to create dashboards to surface the insight very, very quickly, and then use the insight to make decisions, and also find insights in very unexpected places. The classic one is search. If you have an e-commerce site, you have a search bar within your e-commerce site, it's very, very insightful and interesting to go and look and see people in search on what words. Is it a product that actually you don't sell that they're looking for? Is it just for finding it hard to find a particular product because it's categorized in a natural form? But that information can be very, very critical to increasing your conversion rate. Again, just going through the Triumph example, because we showed Triumph before, in their configurator tool, we track every sort of interaction. So every time one adds an accessory, removes an accessory, we track it. So we can see which accessories are not just bought and sold, but which accessories people are trying on, removing, which ones they're not trying at all, so we can try and change the order of them. But really using as much data as possible to be able to make really informed decisions about what to do next. And the last one is, going back to that chart, the whole fulfillment side, the ordering, not the ordering, but fulfillment, the distribution, the customer returns, the finance reconciliation, the things, VAT calculation, tax matters. You might say, okay, this is very, very different to how we operate as a business at the moment, as I say, who sell pallets of products to in wholesale. You don't have to do it yourself. There are organizations, very, very good organizations, who just handle this, who are fulfillment experts, known as third-party logistic companies, 3PLs, who you can outsource all this to. It means you still maintain the experience yourself, and they have different software tools that integrate with all those different platforms that you've seen. So you can plug them together, and you provide the products to them, and they handle everything else. And often it's a very good way to get things done very, very quickly and to a high standard, because they're just used to working in that way. So it's something, if I was going to do this and build an e-commerce platform and advise clients, is really look into having a fulfillment specialist. Okay, those are platforms. That's talking from our experience of implementing quite a number of e-commerce platforms and things to look out for. So that could be quite scary. Okay, we don't have the time, we don't have the expertise, we don't have a budget to embark on implementing or using a platform and all those different things. The other option is marketplaces. Back to the chart. Again, I have to thank Benedict Evans for these charts, because they were only published last month in June, the beginning of the year, and they're excellent. But while the Shopify chart was impressive, going up to 60 billion, we can see Amazon's revenue is just off the chart, nearly 300 billion. And when we talk about marketplaces, yes, we can talk about eBay, we can talk about other marketplaces out there, but it tends to be Amazon that people discuss. And the reason that we discuss Amazon is because it has an established infrastructure, and it tends to be the go-to place as a consumer. If you want to buy something, often you will start at Amazon, at least you go to Amazon at some point just to do price comparison, if nothing else. And sometimes for a manufacturer, particularly a B2B brand, Amazon can be the fastest way to market, to start to sell your products direct to your consumers. But sometimes you've also got to buy Amazon's rules. But there's a big payoff, because in January, Amazon.co.uk got about 400 million visits. So you're getting the eyeballs, you're getting the actual consumers, and driving the traffic there anyway. So Amazon, as a marketplace, we've got two choices. We've got a choice of being a seller, or we've got a choice of being a vendor. So the difference is between them. As a seller, you sell through their marketplace. So your products appear in the search listings pages, category pages, just as other Amazon products do. You manage your own products and your own inventory. You create the products within Seller Central. You say how many you have. You set your own pricing. You ship the goods yourself. But in return, you get all the customer data. You understand who's buying your products and all the information that Amazon collects about them. You also manage your own returns, and you do your own merchandising. Amazon Seller Central has lots of different advertising and merchandising options, so you can make your brand store, if you set it up, as attractive as possible, and create advertising tools to drive traffic. Amazon gives you the tools. They cost a little bit of money to use, but you're in control of that. To use Amazon Seller Central, there's a monthly fee, and Amazon take a percentage of sales commission. You also have to meet some basic or minimum Amazon requirements, such as delivery timescales, delivery quality, and making sure that you have returns policy or returns in place and the infrastructure to do that. So there is a minimum bar that you need to meet. Amazon also provide an additional service onto Seller Central called Fulfillment by Amazon. And Fulfillment by Amazon means that you send a portion of your inventory to Amazon, a warehouse, and they will handle the shipping, storage, and returns. Because they have the stock and they know how many they've got in stock, you are included in the Prime program as well for free delivery charges. But with Amazon Seller Central and FBA, you still serving. It's completely self-serve. You sign up, you can start going as long as you meet the requirements and agree to everything. There's no negotiations that you have to have with Amazon. It's just plug and play off you can sell your products. The other side of the coin is Amazon Vendor Central. And this is where Amazon do everything. And essentially, they just act as another retailer for you. You sell in bulk your products to Amazon, and then Amazon sets its own pricing about what it's going to charge the customers who buy them. It's good because they handle everything end to end, but also there's a downside because there's no direct contact with your customers, your end customers. And you're selling a product, but you don't know who you're selling them to. That's all Amazon. Amazon Vendor Central is really set up for manufacturers, direct with big brands. So it's invitation only. And it's invitation only because Amazon will want to negotiate with you on pricing, on products, which products they're willing to take that you have, and generally the cooperation model which you enter into. However, it is a low or no cost or no effort endeavor for a brand, and it really follows your existing reseller and retailer processes. So we do quite a lot of Amazon Seller Central optimization, setting up brand stores. This is an example for AEG. They were selling through Amazon. This is the Germany website. It's a good example. What we did is we optimized all their Amazon marketplace, the brand stores. We were looking at optimizing the keywords in Amazon, creating targeted ads and sponsor ads as well. And by doing this, we managed to increase their sales on Amazon by 36% within 3 months. Last one, and a relatively quick one because I've been talking for some time, is B2B wholesale. Again, you might look at part 4 and say, okay, that's too much effort, or it's a 12-month project. You might look at marketplaces and say, okay, we might want to do that, but we're not sure about the relationship with Amazon or whether we've got the resources able to manage everything in Seller Central. We might just say, do you know what? We want to double down on our B2B wholesale market. We want to double down on our B2B sales and how we do that. And that's very, very valid. And there are a number of things you can do to optimize how you're selling at the moment or how you're selling through your existing sales channel. Go back to what do consumers or what do people value, and people working day to day in their job for one of your retailers, for one of your resellers, value the same things that consumers do. They value convenience, they can value speed. Let's take low commitment out because we actually want a longer commitment and high commitment for people who are our sales channel, but we also want things personalized. We don't want, and when I say personalized, it's not, hello Jonathan, welcome back. It's more, hey, this is what you ordered last time, do you want to order again? Or you've ordered a lot of this 3 months ago, send a reminder, do you need to order more? You see every month you order more. It's doing things really that adds to convenience and adds to the speed of doing business with them. Making things self-service. People can just log into a portal, order things, make it frictionless as possible, and make sure that whatever you build doesn't look like it's an afterthought. The users in your resellers, your retailers, they're used to a level of consumer quality, of consumer functionality in how they interact every day. So it's very, very important that you try and get that level of quality across. An example we built for a chemicals distributor called Brenntag, where we created a portal for the intranet. They sell, again, exclusively through resellers. And before, in different countries, they all had different systems. It was very fragmented, different ERP systems in the background. And the way that their organization was structured was completely put to the front of their customers. So a simple thing. For example, they might have an item, a customer might be based in the UK, or a better example, a customer might be based in the Netherlands, near the border with Germany, looking for a particular product. They would only be able to, when they log in, they'd only be able to see those products which are available within the country they reside because of their model. So they would only be able to say products in the Netherlands itself. Now, there may be that product within Germany, 30-minute drive away. Because of your organization structure and sales channel, it's not always possible to do that. And this is something we see time and time again. So putting and building e-commerce interfaces customer interfaces, digital interfaces, which take away all that complexity that the customer doesn't need to know and doesn't want to know, can drive very behaviors and drive positive sales. So functions like easily be able to search, see last orders, be able to reorder, view product lists, see status, all the things that you're used to as a consumer to be able to see using consumer e-commerce channels, bringing that into a B2B setting. I've done quite a lot of talking. So what do we set out to do, and have I been through everything? So we've been through what D2C is. We've done what. We've done why is it important, why is it a trend, and also why has it been accelerating over the past 3 to 4 months, which should be obvious, but we put a bit of context to it. And then the how we could do it using our own owned platforms or rented platforms, looking at marketplaces, looking for someone else's infrastructure and building on someone else's infrastructure, or actually just doubling down in improving the tools and the capabilities you offer your existing sales channel at the moment and enable them to be more effective using B2B digital sales techniques. Hope you found that useful. And are there any questions? Now, I can't hear anything, so what I'm going to do on my WhatsApp, some of my colleagues are sending some questions through at the moment. So let's go through. Sorry, just give me a minute while I find them. Okay, so one thing is build and promise on-premise e-commerce infrastructure, or use a cloud-based platform, or modify my current wholesale platform. Good question. I say that time to market at the moment can be achieved much quicker using a cloud-based platform, especially if it's a brand new initiative. One of the reasons I would look at an on-premise e-commerce solution, if there's specific integrations with back-end systems, with existing legacy systems you have, or core business systems, which you need to integrate with, which actually it would be better if it was close as possible together, or whether some of those back-end systems have e-commerce modules which you can just enable and start to use immediately. So I would always tend to look at the cloud platforms and see if it's possible. The other benefit is you get automatic updates. You know, as a new feature arrives in the market, you get access to it immediately. It takes a long hassle. So I would, but I wouldn't rule out looking at an on-premise solution as well. Second, what is into second question? How do you know that the platform I buy today won't be outdated tomorrow? That's where, when you're doing your selection of platform, you really need to dig into if it's on-premise, how often are releases, how easy are upgrades, how long do upgrades take, how much do they cost when you do an upgrade, not just in terms of license, but in terms of the effort to do the upgrade itself. And when we're doing cloud implementations as well, also looking at how often you feature release. And again, the same sort of questions: are the backwards compatibility issues? Do we need to redo work? Do we need to re-upload stuff? But that's really where the cloud offerings come around, because often the upgrades are done automatically and therefore are not becoming out of date because they're constantly adding new features. Okay. Another question, if we wanted to go direct to consumer to generate more revenue, do you recommend we prioritize selling on Amazon over building your own solution? I think it goes to what you're trying to achieve. If it is just about revenue, and revenue at a low cost, because a lot of the marketing, merchandising is done for you, then I think you really do need to look at the Amazon Seller Central offering, purely because you get the eyeballs from day one. People go to Amazon anyway. You can drive traffic, you can do things with merchandising and advertising, sure, but all the tools are there, and would be, I imagine, taking sales from day one. If it's more about building brand awareness, having a brand experience, or becoming a little bit more intimate with your customer, to find out more about them or to build your brand and build market share, then I would err on the side of setting up a platform, even if it's a low-cost platform, to experiment, to see what works, what doesn't work, and as I say, prove the case by actually taking some money, putting money in the bank. So those are the two reasons I'll look at both options. Should I integrate our D2C platform with existing systems? That's a very good question. What I would say is that there are systems that you need to integrate with to make things as seamless as possible. Things like, perhaps not even product catalog, because you can manage that, but inventory, making sure that you're not selling things that don't exist, making false promises to customers. That's important that you get that. Making sure that any orders that you take can be fulfilled and are updated in the warehouse. So taking those orders and sending them back. And then the third one, which sometimes is forgotten about, is financial reconciliation, making sure that the orders that you take and the money you're taking can be updated to your finance team and the accounts to make sure that everything's correct, and the right amount of VAT is taken, especially if you're working across borders. And that's very important. So I think those three things, inventory, order information, and finance, are very important to integrate. I think that's about it. If there's no more questions, I'll just wait a couple more minutes. Well, 30 seconds if there's any more questions. But if you want to cover this presentation, if you want to talk or ask questions offline, or if something comes into your head this afternoon and say, actually, I want to ask that, please just let me know on LinkedIn. This is a QR code. If you scan the QR code, you'll go to my LinkedIn profile. So please feel free to link in with me. If you'd like a copy of the presentation, I'll get it across to you as soon as possible. Just make sure there's nothing more. Yeah, everything's great. We'll leave the live stream on for another couple of minutes, in case you want to get your phone and scan the QR code. If not, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that's been a useful session for you. Thank you very much.